Readers,
reviewers,
countrymen,
lend us your ears. Welcome to another video on the Brothers Gwynne channel.
Today we're going to be doing a fantasy characters tag following in the footsteps of Sir Philip Chase,
whose channel we will leave in a link in the description below.
So the aim of this video is to discuss what characters we would choose in certain positions, kind of thing, across all of the fantasy genre. So we've each chosen a character fitting with a certain category. So the first category will be fantasy twin.
Mm-hmm.
So this means which character do we identify the most with? Which character do we think we are the most alike? So Will, would you like to go first?
So I think that my fantasy book twin would be Drem from the series of Blood and Bone by John Gwynne. It didn't really take a lot of effort to pick someone for this category because the man himself, John Gwynne, said that Drem is inspired by me.
You don't need to throw this in my face.
Oh, the man said it himself.
Yeah,
okay?
fair enough. Okay, I'll give you that.
So Drem and I are similar in a number of ways. I'm on the autistic spectrum, and so when my dad was writing the character of Drem, he assigned many of my mannerisms, such as taking my pulse when I feel anxious.
Befriending crazy bears.
That as well. Obviously, I've done that many times. So Drem has many of the same mannerisms as me. He's probably a bit more serious than me.
He's loyal, he's stout-hearted, he's a wonderful person.
I think so.
That's right.
Some brotherly love here. Yeah, so I think that Drem's a bit more serious than me and a lot more deadly. So I think I'm a bit more of a light-hearted, a bit more relaxed than Drem. But other than that, we're pretty identical.
And my fantasy twin, I believe, would be Arantha Timos from Cold Iron Masters and Mages by Miles Cameron.
A great series.
It is a great series. And Arantha, I immediately identified with Arantha, mainly because I'm a very impressionable young man who has a fond enjoyment of learning how to wield swords and studying at university and all that kind of thing. And the world that Arantha is in as he's growing up, he's a very young man, a little bit younger than me now, I think, but when I was reading it, I was roughly his age. And he was a student at university, which I was at the time as well, and he was learning to wield a sword. He had some fencing masters that he was learning from. He was enjoying his city, and I just think his kind of whole character, I definitely identified with a lot, and I really enjoyed reading Cold Iron, just kind of everyday life from his perspective. He likes to go and buy clothes and all that kind of stuff, and it felt very medieval as well, with that kind of Italian Constantinople Renaissance period. And I love that period, so I definitely enjoyed that.
I think the main relationship between you and Arantha is the passion that's shown, and the way you show that, and that's the main characteristic you both share.
Oh, thank you, Will. We're being so complimentary. This isn't
Something's
like
up.
us, yeah. What have you put in this tea? And the next fantasy book character, the category is hero. So who is your hero in fantasy? Who do you aspire to be like? So Will?
So I would choose Derval from Bernard Cornwell's The Warlord Chronicles. And while this is a historical fiction series, it does count as fantasy and mythological because it adapts the Arthurian legend.
Yeah, it's mythology, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I'm happy to count that.
You let it go. Derval is the central figure in this series. Most people won't know, but Derval was actually quite a central part of the Arthurian legend before it adapted as it's aged over the centuries. But Derval in Bernard Cornwell's series is a very loyal young man who enters the service of Arthur. And what he exudes is just that loyalty, that passion, and he's always honest and he's earnest. And he does everything with good intentions. He makes mistakes along the way, and as everyone, he's fallible. But he has those good intentions at all times, and I think that's what makes him a hero. And if I could be any fantasy character, I think it would be Derval.
Yeah, I immediately loved Derval when I started reading. You know, he's got quite a sad story behind him, but he uses it in a positive way.
Yeah.
And he really befriends Arthur, and Arthur wouldn't have been able to do anything, fight with the Saxons at all if it wasn't for Derval by his side. So good choice, Will. I would say that my fantasy hero would have to be Corban from The Faithful and Fallen by Papa Gwynne. I think Corban is actually really like a dad. I think their personality, their loyalty. There's lots of themes here that we're covering,
Yeah.
looking at the same. But the loyalty, the friendship, the passion, the always thinking about family. That's something that Dad's always had in his writing, and I think he really perfected that with Corban.
Definitely.
And I've always, I've been reading Corban since I was 8-9 years old, and I'm 24 now, so it's been a long time. And I've always just wanted to be him, and he is most like Dad, I think. So my idol is Corban. And the next category is champion. So who would you choose to be your first sword? Who would fight for you in a duel? Who's your Achilles?
So mine would be Tau Solarin, Champion Solarin from The Burning by Evan Winter.
I've heard awesome things about him.
He's going to be my champion for a reason. He is crazy. I'm not going to say any spoilers for anyone watching. And Ed, you haven't read The Rage of Dragons yet, but he will be soon.
Very soon.
But Tau Solarin is a force to be reckoned with. His quest for vengeance, he gains some skills along the way.
I've heard he's literally too angry to die.
But summarising,
he reminds me of the Doomslayer.
He could go against anyone, and he would just he has that willpower to win. I think that's enough said.
Yeah,
who's your champion?
That is a good choice. My champion would be, her name is Orca, and she is from Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne again. Orca is just probably one of my favourite characters ever. As soon as I read her, I knew that she's basically... She reminds me of Kratos, to be honest. Kratos mixed with the Punisher. She's just so brutal. She just... do you know what I won't say, because it might be going to spoiler territory. But she's just amazing. I love her. She's so intense. All I can say is she's brutal.
What I will say is I think the same phrase applies, that she is too angry to die.
Yeah,
and that gives her just that extra edge.
Yeah, she's on a mission, and nothing will stop her from achieving her goal at all. So
I think it's very rare I'd say this, but I think Tau Solarin would have a fight on his hands if he bumped into Orca.
Excellent. And our next category is unlikable character. Now, this is a character who we love to hate. So, who do you enjoy despising?
Lycos from The Faith from the Fallen onward. I hate that man so much. And I'm sure everyone who's read The Faith from the Fallen agrees. In that series, Gwynne was my favourite character. And how Lycos plays into that storyline.
And he, do you know what, I think in Wrath he's so funny.
He comes into
I find it hilarious.
The dry humour.
Yeah.
we won't say any spoilers for people who haven't read The Faith from the Fallen yet. But Lycos is one of my favourite villains in any series.
Yeah.
And he's hilarious, and he's charming and charismatic.
And then evil.
But he's evil as well. So Ed,
good choice.
So he's my unlikable villain. So now on to you.
Mine would be Jean de Rayleigh.
I've heard a lot about him.
From the Traitor Son cycle by Miles Cameron again. I feel like we've got a bit of a pattern here.
Yeah.
John Gwynne and Miles Cameron, Christian Cameron. But Jean de Rayleigh is he feels a little bit like a French knight. It's set in a medieval world. He reminds me a lot of Lancelot in Bernard Cornwell's Warlord Chronicles, which obviously you've read. And
is he like that?
Oh my word, I hate him.
Infuriating.
He's so infuriating. He's just this pompous. He spits on the poor people. He's at this station really high up, and he thinks nothing can touch him. Exactly. He's worshipped by the gods. He feels like, and that kind of thing. And everything he does just goes to show that he's a terrible person. So that is my unlikable character. William, who would be your tavern buddy, which is our next category?
This was quite hard, and I eventually settled on a character called Svik, who is also going to be in the Bloodsworn saga, the first edition of which is The Shadow of the Gods, which comes out in May, and he's in the same book as Orca, who Ed previously mentioned. Svik is so funny. He can turn the most serious and tense situation into a joke. He tells some hilarious stories along the way. I've heard some people who have already read The Shadow of the Gods have pointed out how he just made them just cackle with laughter. And
David at Fanfi Addict loved loved him. Yeah.
He has a troll story which you all need to keep your eye out for. And he actually reminds me a bit of you with your humour. which I know you're
You're
really
being
nice.
so nice today.
We've been really nice today. We're getting on.
I will take that.
Svik is he's tongue-in-cheek, he's very spontaneous, and he just makes everyone laugh.
And my tavern buddy, someone who I feel like I could have a right laugh with, going out for a drink, who could show me the town. No one better than Brasty Goodbow from The Greatcoats by Sebastian de Castell. And Brasty, sometimes he does actually remind me of Sebastian with his quick wit, his humour. And to be honest, by the end of The Greatcoats, you know, when Brasty starts off, you think he's just this kind of crazy person who's always having these, you know, crazy ideas, who wants to just jump into the thick of it. And by the end, I always felt like Brasty had the best solution, you know, he just does it in such a funny way. He's hilarious. He's always got a joke. He's a bit of a womanizer. But he just likes teasing people and winding them up as well. And I feel like we could have a good few pints of ale in the tavern and have a good time.
Yeah, I haven't read The Greatcoats yet, but I will do soon. I've read Sebastian's Spellslinger series, which I really enjoyed. But in all the reviews, I've heard people talk about Brasty and how just hilarious he is. So I'm not surprised that
he works really well with the trio, you know, the Three Musketeers kind of trio. But he's definitely they're all funny in their own right. But I always just found his lines so hilarious. And the next category is villain. Now this is someone who we really wouldn't want to meet on a dark night in an alleyway, or on a bright sunny day in a nice field with lots of daisies. Definitely don't meet anywhere.
Never meet them.
Yeah, at a picnic, wherever. So Will, who's yours?
So the person I would never want to stumble upon under any circumstance is Morgoth from the Silmarillion by Tolkien. I mean,
You can't get any badder than that.
No, I mean, even the name just sounds horrible.
Why did his mum name him Morgoth?
He doesn't have a mum.
He doesn't have a mum?
You'll read the Silmarillion and find out. It sounds weird. But Morgoth, he is a fallen angel, and he is the one who creates the trolls and orcs and all the bad things.
He's not a nice guy.
He's not a nice guy. Who creates all the bad people in Middle-earth, and he destroys the lives of so many characters you love. I think everyone needs to watch Lord of the Rings. Sauron, the big bad guy.
Like level 10.
He's level 10, and Morgoth is his master. He's much worse.
Level 100.
I don't think you can really get much worse than Morgoth, and he's just horrible, nasty, and there's no redeeming factor to him. So it was quite an easy choice for villain. So Ed.
By the sounds of it, I definitely don't want to meet him.
So now you've got something to match. So who would your villain be?
I reckon my villain could beat your villain.
Really?
My villain could beat up your villain. I would choose the Bloody Nine from the First Law. Now, the Bloody Nine, I think, would be a real force to be reckoned with. He slays friend, he slays foe. He does not care. His is death and war and fire, and he will destroy anyone in his path, whether they're on his side, against him, whether they're just a stranger walking past. If they are in the Bloody Nine's way, they are going to get bloodied up, okay?
I feel a bit scared.
Yeah, honestly,
Joe
Abercrombie writes him terrifyingly, and he is so intense. He is just an amazing perspective of a character, I shall say.
Well, I'll be starting the First Law soon.
Yes,
so
I don't want to spoil it for you,
him.
but he is one sublime bad guy. And the next category is mentor. Now, do you mind if I start this bit, Will?
You can.
My mentor, for those of you, might link to another one in this list. I won't mention it because of spoilers for Will and anyone else who's watching. But my mentor would be Logan Ninefingers. So, yeah. You know, they're a good guy. They must have had a tale to tell if they've got 9 fingers. But Logan Ninefingers is specifically in Before They Are Hanged. His kind of fatherly role that he plays with another one of the characters, I think, is just genius. It's brilliant, and I feel so attached to Logan. You know, you feel bad for him whenever something bad happens to him. How he feels, how he kind of portrays himself, how he paints himself to other people, how he thinks he is. But he's got such good advice, like you can never have too many knives. I try and stick by that when I go to the shop. And he has other things like better to do it than live in fear of doing it. And I try and think that, you know, when you need to do the dishwasher, I sit there thinking, I don't want to do it, and then better to do it and live with the fear of doing it. And then, you know, it's kind of strange that you're taking advice from Logan Ninefingers.
So when you do the jobs, you're thinking, let's just do what Logan says. So he's your mentor already, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Logan would be a great mentor if he took me under his wing rather than wanting to kill me if I survived the first encounter. with him. I think he could go quite well. So, Will, who would your mentor be?
So my mentor was returning to the Faithful and the Fallen, and it would be Brina. So it's hard to pick between Gar or Brina. Gar takes a bit of a softer approach. Brina,
you would have real tough skin.
Brina that is harsh love for you. But Brina, she does have the best intentions, and she does have very, very good life lessons, and she is a softie inside. And I think I could reach that.
And you get to meet Kraft as well.
That's what I was going to say. That she has a talking crow. Can you really beat that? I mean, Logan, he sounds awesome. He sounds really like a great guy.
Don't put Brina against Logan.
Okay,
it wouldn't go well.
Let's keep them separate then. Okay, Brina is amazing on her own.
She could give him a tongue lashing.
And I would always be laughing when I stop crying after she's insulted me.
Yeah, just don't ask too many questions.
Don't ask too many questions. And with Kraft chipping in, every now and then, I don't think you can really get much of a better mentor than Brina.
No, that is a good choice actually. Unexpected, but good. I like it. And the next category is Samwise. So who would be your Samwise Gamgee? Who could you trust to be your best friend forever? So, Will?
So I would have actually chosen Samwise Gamgee, but as I think that's everyone's best friend, I'm going to go for someone else, and I'm going to say Nona Grey from Mark Lawrence's Book of the Ancestors series. So that might come as a bit of a shock to everybody, because if you have heard of Nona Grey, she's a bit of a Wolverine character, and she's crazy.
You're choosing some very strange company.
She is crazy, but the thing about Nona is she is very good to her friends. She's loyal. She's crazy and she does some bad stuff, but she has the best intentions and she does fight for the right side.
Yeah.
And as I said, she fights for her friends. She's quite selfless, and I think that me and Nona could be very good friends.
She sounds pretty trustworthy. Yeah, good choice.
Thanks.
And for my Samwise character, I would choose Clay Cooper from Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Ames. And I loved Clay Cooper from straight away from reading him. He's a family man, but also he gets sucked into this adventure with his friends, and I don't know, something about Nicholas Eames' writing, it went from being hilarious, but where Clay Cooper was really making me laugh, and then all of a sudden he's making me cry, and I was like, within like 2 pages, there's this complete shift, and it didn't feel jarring at all. And Clay Cooper's narration is absolutely brilliant. I think he's such a trustworthy character. He is kind of the bass player of the band, as it were. He has his trusty shield, and he is the rock that keeps them all together. And I think having Clay Cooper by your side as your best friend, you can't go wrong with it, really.
Well, Ed read Kings of the Wild a few weeks ago, and I know that you absolutely loved it. And I heard you just laughing from like the opposite ends of the house, just cackling.
It's a brilliant read. One that I would recommend to everyone, whether they read fantasy or not.
You keep pushing it over to me, and so I'm going to start reading that. Another read that I need to start soon. There's too many books.
And the next category is found family. So who kind of would you choose to adopt into your family? A character that you would like to be part of the Gwynne clan?
So for me, instantly, I think when I read these books, I wanted to be this person's brother. No offense to you, you're an amazing brother, but you can never, as Logan would say, you can never have too many brothers.
Logan never says that. If anything, he says the opposite. Okay.
Well, forget what I said, but I want, as an adopted brother, Fitz from Robin Hobb's Farseer trilogy. Fitz is one of my favourite characters I've ever had the joy to read.
Would he create a rift between us?
He wouldn't. He would bring us tighter together. We would be the best trio ever.
We're the 3 best friends that
anybody could have.
Okay.
That's enough. We could have gone down a dark road there. But Fitz is a brilliant character, and a bit like Nona, he is great to his friends. He's, in his heart, he's a great person, and he would be willing to sacrifice all, but he's also got a fun side to him, and he's got a few tricks that I would love to explore with him. So he would be my found family.
Go on then, you can adopt him, it's fine.
So now, Ed, who is your found family character?
I would choose to adopt, it's not going to be a person. I don't want any more humans in this house. So I would adopt Storm from The Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne. Because Storm is a beautiful animal. And Philip Chase said a lovely quote on his channel saying there are no better humans than dogs. And I absolutely love that, and I completely agree. Although Storm is a very big dog with very big teeth, Very big ears, very big fur, but the ears.
She never uses her teeth.
She'd be so she'd be so warm all the time. But I love Storm, and you know she'd be a great companion. It's kind of a bit of another best friend that you could have.
Yeah.
And I'd love to look after her, maybe in her old age.
Yeah, we love dogs, and Storm.
Yeah,
would be great.
Tops the list of dogs. So that would be my found family. Please let us know in the comments below what characters you would choose in any of these categories. Whether you would choose to adopt a human or an animal.
And thanks again to Philip Chase, who put a video up of his favourite fantasy character tags. And because that inspired us to put our own video up. So as I said earlier, we'll put a link to that video in the description below.
Until then, stay safe.
Truth and courage.
Truth and courage.
The Brothers Gwynne.